Hello, I wanted to share how to solve this problem. This is the GfG Print the pattern set 1, where we have to print a pattern which looks like this. If the input is 3, the in the first row the 3 will return. There will be repeated for 3 times. Then the after decrementing, the 2 will repeat 3 times, and after decrementing once more, it will repeat 3 times. This happens for n number of times. So I wanted to share how to solve this. First of all, let's see how the basic pattern works. uh, Here, this is a simple example where you'll see the basic idea here is that uh, the outermost loop will always be the height, or the how many number of lines are there, or you can say rows, and the innermost loop will always be the width, which will see how to use this in our main question. Here basically we are starting from 0 and going to whatever the user defined height is. Here it is 2. uh, so that will there will be 2 rows or 2 lines in this uh, in the pattern. Same for the width. Now you must have seen this half pyramid or some other kind of pattern. uh, Here this is similar to what we want to achieve with our problem, with our pattern. uh, we'll focus first on the first row. What happens here is that we are starting with n number of here it is 3, so we want 3 stars here. So how the loop will go is that here I becomes 3, uh, after which it checks it is greater than 0, then yes, it's correct, it's greater than 0. It goes to an innermost loop where j is initialized as 0, uh, and it continues running till whatever the value of I is in the outermost loop, which is 3. So the first row, you can print here the star. So after going through this loop, it will print these 3 stars. So now it has been it goes to the outermost loop where uh, it is decremented from 3 to 2, and the whole process repeats continuously. So we'll get 3 rows because the outermost loop is n, which we have defined as 3 for our example. Now for coming to our main example, we'll just focus on the first row which we want to get. As you can see here, this is the row we want to get. To achieve this, uh, this is basically identical to the this star pattern, except here the innermost loop continues running for whatever the n is. Currently n here is also 3. So what happens here is n is I is initialized as 3, and it's checked. If it's greater than 0, then it's correct. It goes to the inner loop. In the inner loop, j is initialized as 0, and it will continue running for 3 times. So it will print these 3 values first and go to the outermost loop when it is seen that j is what can I say? j is less than 3. So if it's no longer less than 3, it is incremented. uh, Otherwise it will go to the outermost loop where it will be decremented from 3 to 2. And as you can see here, instead of printing whatever the generally what we do is print uh, the the variable which is in this loop, but here we are printing what it is in the outermost loop. That's why we are able to decrement from 3 to 2, and it will print 2 for how many times? 3 times again, because we have given the parameter here as 3. So if we were to give here parameter is 4, and here also parameter is 4, it would print uh, 4 times 4, 4 times 3, 4 times 2, and so on. And that is just for the first row. Now that we have solved for the first row, we'll look at this. What generally mistakes happen here is uh, this is identical. This part is literally identical to whatever we have written here. Now, as I said earlier, we want to have 3 lines, right? So the outermost loop has to have the same parameters as that. You can see here, this outermost loop, this part is going to be identical to what we have written here. What this does is we'll get 3 loops, uh, three rows. But as you can see, this is not the output we are expecting. We want it to decrement by 1 every time. So the only thing which is needed to be changed here is, instead of n, we want it to decrement according to this value. So if we write a here, we'll get the correct output. So let's go one by one through each loop uh, to see what is happening inside the loop. First of all, n is 3 and a is initialized as n, which is currently at 3. It will check if it's greater than 0, then which is correct. We'll go to this loop. In this loop, I is initialized as 3. Uh, it's greater than 0, correct. Then we'll go to the innermost loop, where what happens is j is initialized as 0. It is checked if it's smaller than a, which is basically 3 for now. So that is correct. So we'll print the value whichever that the uh, variable I is holding. So here it is 3. It will print that, and it will continue printing that unless this value is satisfied. So this is here j is 0. It will be incremented and j will be incremented to 1, but it will still print whatever the value of the variable I is holding. That is still 3. When j becomes 2, it will still print 3. So we got our this value. Now we'll go to this for loop. For loop will be decremented by 1. So now I becomes 2. Again we go to this loop. Again j has been initialized as 0, but will print whatever the I variable is holding. So that is 2. It happens 2 times, 3 times. We get this value. So on and so forth. We get our first row. That was basically this that we did. After doing all this, completing the first row, we go to the outermost loop, where the value of a is decremented from n, value of n, to n minus 1, which is 2. Again we go to this loop, where I is initialized uh, I is initialized as n. Why n instead of not a? Because we want it to happen three times. So we are currently at A is 2, I is again 3, I is again 3, right? Uh, but the value of A has been changed to 2. So this loop will only run two times. What the benefit of that is, we'll get these values two times. That's what we wanted. That's what this loop is doing, where when j is 0 and j is 1, it will print whatever the value of I currently is holding. So it first of all will hold 3 because it's the initial value, and after this loop is completed, it will go to this loop where I is decremented, so it will output 2. That will complete our second row. This continues going on, uh, and that is basically our final answer. As you can see, submissions view. I'll just copy paste it for simplicity's sake. Compile. What happened? Oh, that's right. Question wanted us the question wanted us to print this dollar symbol instead of giving an empty line, like going to the next line like the example suggests. But this example, they wanted to be a dollar symbol, which happens just before the outer loop. Again, why before the outer loop? Because that is the outermost loop always defines the number of rows, number of lines there are. That's why we want a dollar symbol or empty line before that. As you can see, that's the output we got, which satisfies the expected output. Thank you.